Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I'm Hamza Idris. President Bola Tinubu has again constituted a 31-man Presidential Economic Coordination Council, which includes himself, the Vice President, Senate President and Chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum, among others. Also, the President has established a 19-member Economic Management Team task force with the task to submit a 6-month comprehensive plan for economic interventions for 2024. The Emergency Economic Task Force comprises of 4 governors, ministers, some members of the Economic Management Team, and that of the private sector. However, the MTET, that is the acronym, is to report to the EET, which is being headed by the President. The ultimate objective of the move, according to the presidency, is to re-engineer Nigeria's economic governance framework. It is coming at a time the country's currency is slightly recovering with some positive improvement in the foreign reserve. However, Nigeria is grappling with a hyperinflation regime at 31.70%, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, with food inflation accounting for 37.9% in February, exacerbating the lingering cost of living crisis in the country. It is against this backdrop we'll be engaging with a professor of finance and capital market, Uchenna Uwaleke from the Nasarawa State University, to examine the necessity or otherwise of the economic themes vis-a-vis the nation's current economic trajectory. Professor, welcome to our program.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hamza.
And I want to use this opportunity to actually extend our condolences over the stampede that led to the death of about 2 students at the Nasarawa State University.
Honestly, quite unfortunate. May their souls rest in peace.
Exactly, and the parents, the 42.
Oh yes, of course, condolences to the to the family.
Yeah, Tinubu's 50-member emergency team. Yesterday, you know, we went to bed. Yes. I will not say we woke up.
Yes.
You know, we went to bed with these 2 new innovations.
Yes.
Number one, that 1-man Presidential Economic Coordination Council.
Yeah.
This includes himself,
yes,
the Vice President, Senate President, and Chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum,
yes,
among others. That's
yes,
one of them. I don't know whether you study it. And,
I looked at it. I saw, just as you said, the first set was 18, the president and his ministers, 18 of them. Then he also added people from the private sector, another,
yes,
another 14.
That is the other one, the 19 member, you call it 19, right?
No, where you have the
economic, okay, maybe excluding the president.
Where you have the Dangote.
That is it. They call it economic management emergency task force.
No. The task force is the one, where you have 19.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm talking about the 14.
No, 31.
31 right? Is 18 plus, the first one.
Yes.
Yes, was the
because
president.
honestly, myself and my producer, yes, we were just asking ourselves.
Yes, the number, right?
Is 31 plus 19, it gives you 50.
That's one.
Yes, 31 plus.
And that 31 comprises both the president and his ministers, the first set, yes, 18 or so, and then the private sector people.
Yes.
They are all members of the presidential economic coordination council.
Yes.
So it wasn't the president is the chair. Yes. There is the vice president. There is the senate president.
Yes.
Okay. Minister for of course, coordinating minister for the economy, minister for agri trade. The key ministries are all there. Okay. Then you also have the private sector people.
Yes.
The Dangotes, the Boas.
That's the task force. The other one.
Yes. No, the task force is the third layer.
Oh.
There are 4. If you check that
okay.
Yes, you have the first Presidential Economic Coordinating Council. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's one.
Yes.
So that one has 2 layers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then you have the third layer, which is the Economic Management Team Emergency Task Force.
Exactly.
Yes, that's
what I have here.
That's why you have the 19.
Yes.
Okay. Where of course it's chaired by the coordinating minister.
Yeah.
Yes. Then the last part of it too mentioned the fact that the government already has an economic management team. There is an economic management team already in place. They have been meeting on a monthly basis. But what that circular has said is that for the purpose of what they want to do now, that economic management team, will suspend whatever they are doing, and allow these other people to work. What the president has said is that he has given them 2 weeks to produce a plan that he will implement in the next 6 months.
Okay.
Yes, he has given them 2 weeks. Produce that plan. He wants.
So this new team.
Yes.
It's like he's taking over maybe the larger role of the other team.
Yes.
Not permanently.
Yes, not permanently. Okay. It's a task force.
Okay.
It's a task force. They are asked within the 2 weeks. I want to see the plan, and I want to implement that plan within the next 6 months. All right. Now, is it called for at this time? I think so, and I also think that maybe it's even something that should have come before now. The idea of coordination is very critical. Okay, it's important that both fiscal and monetary policies, trade policies, investment policies are coordinated at this point. Okay, so that they don't work at cross purposes. You don't find them working in silos. Now, look at what has happened. The consequences of the reforms, both intended and unintended. You see, the 2 major reforms of subsidy removal and exchange rate unification, have resulted in
so many challenges.
Yes, so many. They've thrown up a lot of
and
challenges.
that is why people are asking, because since yesterday we've seen comments on the social media that does hunger really require any task force?
Yes, well, yes, it does.
Hunger requires task force. People are going to bed very hungry.
That's the more
reason. What happened at your university?
Exactly.
Very sad. I know that 10 years back.
Yes.
I don't think if you will have one student that will go to receive, I don't know, is it 10 kg?
Yes, 7 kg. Is it
or 5,000 naira?
Yeah, 5,000 naira.
So you can see how people have been rendered so poor that students with all the pride, women, girls that,
See, I agree with you, Hamza, I agree with you. You see, these challenges, people tell you that the pains will be short-lived, that in the medium term things will get better. But what is this short term? Nobody can define short term.
Up till now.
Yes, up till now. Short term, okay, the CBN governor, for example, has said that the inflation target for this year is 21.4. So before the end of December, he intends to achieve 21.4% inflation rate. Okay. He also said that the hike in rates we are seeing, with time will come down.
Yeah.
Now, the point is, when people talk about short term, soon, look, we don't have that
framework.
Somebody can say it is going to be November, it's going to be this. So that is why I think that this task force is needed. Because what the task force will now do will be to create a sense of urgency, okay? So that you don't say you are going to get this outcome so time, and then you relax, and then you keep working, hoping that it will materialize. But when you have a task force, okay, it's like a war room. You recognize that there is, you're in a war situation, that you have to do something to, bring down, food prices. You have to do something, emergency measures to ramp up food production. Emergency measures to reduce the hunger in the land. Yes. I think that's the idea behind it.
Can we say that maybe the president is coming to terms that after all, what they thought is very easy is really not the way they looked at it?
Did you read? I read it. I don't know whether he was misquoted or what he actually said.
Bayo Onanuga. I have the interview. I started reading it.
Yes.
I was thinking it is some people who actually put those words together.
Yes. He said the president. It's like, let me not. I'm not quoting him exactly.
Yeah.
What he said was like, the president didn't really envisage. I think envisage the enormity of the problem, of the challenge. Okay, so he came and then saw that the thing was.
Meaning, if he had done his homework very well, the removal of the fuel subsidy, maybe he will take like 2 weeks.
Exactly.
To understand certain things.
Exactly.
And then maybe unification of the naira, he will have also taken some time.
Absolutely.
To look at the repercussions.
Absolutely. I'm sure if he had the way of maybe seeing the future, for example, seeing the magnitude of the problem, the removal of fuel subsidy wouldn't have been
which was politically correct at that time.
Abruptly done. The unification of exchange rates. Some of these things maybe he would have try to sequence them or try to implement them in a gradual manner. Okay. So now that it has happened, you would say the deed has been done. Of course, well, the way I also say it, he was coming in, and then you come in with this fire in the belly. You want to implement the reforms immediately. So I would say he meant well, but the repercussion, that's why I talked about unintended consequences.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they didn't think that this thing would be the enormity, just as you said, would be this large. So now that it has happened, now that we've seen inflation now cross 31%.
Yes.
Okay.
31.70.
Yeah, 31.7, and that's even the food inflation. Food inflation is 37.
And the CBN governor is saying he's looking at 21 or thereabout by December,
which is still double digits.
Is it practically possible? Are there the template that will bring the inflation to 21?
That is why I am in support of this coordination committee. It is a coordination committee that will now look at what the monetary authority is doing, look at what the fiscal side is doing, and say, this is how we think this thing can happen. Because left to the CBN governor, left to the central bank, what is the major thing they want to do is to squeeze liquidity from the system. Okay.
Is that why they increase the lending?
Oh yes, the rates. So CBN thinks
that people will find it difficult to borrow.
Will borrow. Yes, that's it. So that access to credit will be reduced. Banks will no longer be in a position to make credit. That's it. And then money supply will reduce. And in their thinking, inflation rates will come down. But the mistake in all of that is that there are factors that are driving inflation that are outside the control of the central bank.
Like what factors? Maybe they should. Maybe we have to remind them, because sometimes they easily forget some of these things.
Even in the communique that the CBN governor read after their meeting, they put those factors there. They talked about food insecurity. Okay, as a result of
insecurity,
shortage of food. Now, insecurity is causing a lot of farmers, stopping them from going to farms. Okay, so you now find food shortages resulting from insecurity. So there is insecurity in the land, okay, affecting food supply. That's one. In that communique, they also mentioned high transport costs.
Yes.
In that communique, you'll also see rising energy costs. Okay, the fuel price, for example, cost of diesel, AGO, cost of energy generally.
Even
petrol, that's PMS. So when people say this is a generator economy. Somebody was saying, there's a study that said the consumption, 40% of the consumption of diesel is by firms. Okay, just to power, because of
machinery.
Yes, and that's also because of the fact that the power supply, electricity supply, is also inadequate. So when you have issues to do with electricity, power, you have issues to do with fuel, you have issues to do with transport and logistics, you have insecurity. Okay, when you add all of that, these are the factors driving inflation. That is why cost of production is rising. Okay, imagine you now setting up a business, and of course, one of the first things you grapple with is even power, and there is no power, so you go to get a generator. You are getting a generator, you have to buy diesel or buy fuel, as the case may be. So these are the things that are leading to cost. It is not because, I'm not saying it's not a factor. It's a factor. In the past, we saw Ways and Means, central bank, 30 trillion coming into the economy, without being applied to any productive activity. So that also helps to further inflation.
The National Assembly is now battling to see who gets what from there and what they can bring back.
Exactly. So the central bank is concerned about that one. That's when we say monetary factors. Central bank is trying to tackle monetary factors, but there are non-monetary factors that central bank cannot tackle. That's why there's need for coordination. So my submission here is that the central bank, with respect to inflation in this country, the central bank cannot clap with one hand.
It's not possible.
It's not possible. Okay, central bank must talk to the fiscal side, have a handshake with the fiscal side to be able to bring inflation down. Okay, central bank alone cannot bring down.
The fiscal side, are you referring to?
That's the government.
Government, yeah.
Yes, when we say the fiscal, we mean the government.
Finance.
That's the yes. Finance. But essentially the government, because the government that will deal with insecurity.
Okay, Prof, I have this question now.
Yes.
Here, these two main committees, the way you broke them,
yes.
It's like we have like 4.
Yes.
So 3 or 4.
Yes.
Now, do they have the magic wand to actually bring out what the president is talking about? Aliko Dangote is busy managing his business.
Yes.
Tony Olumelu, his business.
Yes.
Bua,
yes.
his business. And then the ministers you mentioned,
yes.
These are politicians.
Yes.
So this is the first time they are having direct connection with the economy.
Yes.
So do they have the magic wand to turn around and come up with the task force prescription of sort that will actually take food to the table of the poor?
Yeah, very good question. One of the outcomes, unfavorable outcomes of these reforms, especially unification, was devaluation of the currency. So the currency became devalued, naira became devalued, and then we saw a lot of companies, incurring exchange rate losses. A lot of companies today are reporting losses. Big companies are reporting losses.
Big companies. Okay. We're even expecting more, especially the banks.
Exactly.
Who are preparing their this thing.
No, but some banks, of course, reported exchange gains. But a lot of companies are reporting losses. So, some of these players in the private sector, like the Dangote, for example, the Alaji, Rabiu, Tony Olumelu. So these are, at the president thinks that they're in a position to know, what to do to help these companies, revert.
But Prof, you as a professional and as an academic.
Yes. No, I'm still coming. I want to land. Yes. The point I'm making is that yes, those people, their advice or whatever they will say, we need them. But in terms of the real work, just as you said, it is not those ones. Okay, they don't have the time. Look at the issue of a Senate president being, there. Okay, so Senate president, of course, again, I was wondering why didn't the speaker also make the list? So since you have the Senate president, maybe because the Senate president is the chairman of the National Assembly. Yes. Okay, I'm sure maybe that's why he's there. But I think it is for these people to sit down after they have received the report by the economic, the task force, to now take a decision. And to take that decision, you need the head of the executive, the president. You also need the head of the National Assembly. I'm sure that's what informed that. Okay, but I also think that the composition, is also lacking a very fundamental group. And that group that is missing in this composition, whether you're looking at particularly the emergency task force, is the academia. Okay. The academia is, visibly absent, because that kind of task force will require some, research input. Okay, so I had expected to see
powerful theories that work in some
not just theories. Maybe people that will conduct research and say, and also to, perform some scenario analysis. This analysis will be done by people in academia. So we don't have, for example, the president of the Nigerian Economic Society. I expected the president of the Nigerian Economic Society to be there. The person you find there is the president of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group.
And they are two.
Those ones are not that different. Those ones are not. Those ones are.
All right. No problem. Let me plead that you hold your breath as we go on break, because you are opening up the actually serious issues in the composition of the committees. But we'll be back shortly.
All right.
Viewers, don't go away. We'll be back shortly.
In the spirit.
Welcome back. If you are just joining, you are watching Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow the conversation across our social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. We still have in the studio Professor of Finance and Capital Market from Nasarawa State University, Uchenna Uwaleke. He also served as Commissioner of Finance in Imo State. Welcome back.
Thank you, Hamza.
Program.
Thank you.
Yes. We say so many committees on economy.
Yes.
And we also have the National Economic Council.
National Economic Council, that's the NEC.
Yes.
Yes, that's where you have the governors and then chaired by the vice.
Okay. Now, assuming when he came, he got the right people, do you think he needs all these multiple layers of economic coordination, economic emergency, and all that, or the takeoff was actually shaky?
Well, I think, just as you said, better late than never. I want to say better late than never. He has realized that there is need to have a war room. That's what I call it.
Okay.
A war room.
War room.
Yes.
War
room.
As in war. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because of the
enormity of the problem.
Oh yes, challenges.
Okay.
So you need a war room where you bring in people that will brainstorm, come up with a template. He has given them just 2 weeks. That's why it's a war room. 2 weeks. Submit it, and he has also given his commitment to implement all that within 6 months. Now I was talking about the need to also put in there some members from the academia. I want to also recognize that there are a few of them I saw there that would also be in a position to add value. Talking about the likes of Bismarck Rewanu, for example. Okay. I'm sure he will be there to supply all the data. The likes of Professor Doyin Salami, he was also he served in the previous government, and then the likes of Dr. Suleiman Danosa. So these people, of course, will be the real think tank, of the emergency task force. But I'd also expected, as I said, we have a few members from the academia. That Nigerian Economic Society is very key. Once you put the president of Nigerian Economic Society there, you have put at your disposal, reservoir, because he can easily tap from members, to add value. Okay. I also think a major omission in this list is the non-inclusion in that list. Even though I know ultimately they will involve him, but non-inclusion of the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. Already there is a committee on fiscal policy and tax reforms, and that committee too, has been working on all aspects of fiscal policy, whether it is government revenue, taxes, government revenue, government expenditure, public debt. So the committee is working on all of that. So these other ones now, yes, if they work without reference to what the committee has already done, okay, so or they may even be doing things that may appear to be duplicate what other committee was already on ground. So that's why in conceiving this, in setting up this, it was important to also look at what is already in place, and then see how you can also co-opt them. Including there the chairman of the presidential committee, that's talking about Taiwo Oyedele, would have done a lot of good to that to that list. Okay, so of course you might say 50 in total. Yes, some have said it's unwieldy, but I think it has to do more with the nature of the problem. All ideas will be required. The tax force, the tax team are the ones that will enter the war room and churn out those solutions, and then present them to the president, the coordinating council. And I expect that council will properly coordinate. Now, if we had this council in place, for example, before now, I'm also sure that the coordinating council will find a way of also moderating some of the actions of the central bank in terms of these rate hikes. Okay, because
you think it has some side effects? Oh,
absolutely. Come to think of it now, I just told you now that inflation in Nigeria is not only demand pull, we have cost push. It's cost of production. So when you raise rates, they have raised it now by 600 basis points in 1 month. Last month, about 25th, it was 400 basis points. On 26th of this month, 200 basis points. So that's 600 basis points.
It's on the high side.
It's on the high side. And they also increased the cash reserve requirement, to 45%. So that's high. Okay. Now, what is going to happen? Okay, that's why sometimes yesterday I saw a screaming headline that central bank sacrifices growth, for their mandates.
And could that be true?
No, is to the extent that when you raise rates like that, it becomes difficult for firms to, to borrow. Okay, people access to credit is reduced, and when firms don't borrow, or those that have borrowed now find it difficult to repay. Okay, you find that production suffers, employment will suffer. People may leave even those jobs because those firms are unable to get money to expand. Cost of credit is high. If we are borrowing at 27% before, with what has happened now, it's likely to be over 30%, 30-something percent. So it has a way of slowing down growth. But the central bank says that their mandate, all that they care is to make sure that inflation, comes down. So when you have this kind of trade-offs, okay, you need a coordinating committee, council, to be able to say, let's strike a balance. We also need to grow. The economy also needs to grow, okay, while we also recognize that inflation is a challenge, particularly when that inflation is also caused by these other factors that are outside your control. So the coordinating council will, look into all these issues, with a view to striking a balance. So the central bank now will understand that this is its role, this is what it needs to do. The fiscal side will say this is what we need to do for us to have achieved that macroeconomic goal. I keep saying that it is one economy, okay? Macroeconomic goals of low and stable inflation. You have sustainable growth, okay? You want to have low unemployment or full employment, and then you also want to have balance of payment equilibrium. All of this can only be achieved when you have, synergy
among all the various stakeholders. Now, that action that the CBN brought recently, where it gives money, dollar to the Bureau de Change, and then asks them the threshold they can't exceed
1.5%.
Yes, in selling it. Can we say it's a policy somersault from the initial action that say, okay, naira should actually trade for itself and get the power that it.
Exactly. I wouldn't use the word somersault. Okay. I would simply say the central bank is now currently responding to prevailing circumstances. They have seen that it's not possible to float.
Meaning that they didn't learn lesson from what happened in 2016. Because I think during Buhari, they also floated the naira, but within a very short time.
Exactly. So it is not possible. We also said it at the time for you to say you want to float the naira, given weak fundamentals. For you to float the naira, you must have, a diversified export base, okay? You must also have, substantial, reserves. So when you have a diversified export base, you can afford to now leave the fate of your currency to market forces. So when it is not there, when 90% of your forex is coming from one product, crude oil sales, okay, then it becomes dangerous to say you're floating. Now, they tried it, but again, now they've realized that there's no way the central bank will fold its arms without intervening.
Yes.
And that's why part of the stability you find now in that market is because central bank has improved liquidity through sale of forex to BDC.
But is it sustainable? Because when they came, they said what Buhari era, economists at the CBN and wherever were doing was not the way to go. Now it's like they are also maybe going back to that.
No, this one, as I said, is called for.
Okay.
Yes, if the central bank had not done that, maybe by now there would have seen these liquidity issues. And once there's the liquidity issue, confidence in the system will not be there. Okay, it will be, if you like, encouraging speculation. Okay, people will be speculating because they say there's no liquidity, central bank is not intervening. But if they know that central bank will supply dollar, okay, you tend not to speculate, because if you speculate, you end up getting your fingers, bonds. So I think it was a good move that they started reselling to BDs. And again, another good move was even to withdraw the license of over 4,000 BDCs. So they are now dealing with a manageable number, trying to deal with a manageable number.
So that when they were withdrawing the license, is also it's good for
very good, because because at the time they remember they said BDC is so close to 6,000. Yes. So that had the effect of at least leaving the central bank with a manageable number. Yes. Some of us I even feel that is still high. There's need to further reduce. Get those ones that are currently on to consolidate, either by way of merger or acquisition, so that the number can further reduce.
People keep making reference to former President Buhari, Obasanjo.
Yes.
Obasanjo, former President Obasanjo's era. The way he put his economy, in fact, he pushed for,
yes,
people who are real economy. Like people were not complaining.
Yes.
Of course, people complained because he was there, but after he left office,
yes,
people began to see the positives,
yes,
in what he did. And there are some lessons for Tinubu. Instead of doing the politically correct composition, because you have now many layers, but
yes,
you see 70 or 80% of those nominated actually politicians. So it's politically correct, but economically, it's not really the way to go.
Well, I think we still have a few of them around that he can rely on. The finance minister is one. Even within the office of the vice president, I can mention one or two persons. Dr. Top Efaswa is also good. I'm sure if the president decides to, rely on these ones, okay, that will go a long way.
It will go a long way.
Yes,
but now, assuming they will call for memoranda,
yes,
from outside, are there like 3 things you will tell them that they should do, so that within 2 weeks, when they are submitting a report, there will be sense in that report? Maybe if you are to advise them that, okay, the president should do A,
okay,
B, C.
Okay, well, in terms, you see, what's our major challenge here now? Yes. The major challenge is food. People want to eat food. We want to see that food prices.
Basic necessities.
Yeah, basic things, particularly food. Okay, and they see what they have done recently to, help with food prices. They've opened the borders. They are distributing grains. The other day, Central Bank distributed 100 billion naira worth of fertilizer through the Ministry of Agriculture. Well, these ones are there, okay. But if I were to advise this emergency,
yes,
I would also talk in that direction. Is it possible for us now, as an emergency measure, to just as an emergency measure, yes, if I'm encouraging it, to see whether we can import?
Okay.
Import food.
We should import food.
Yes, import food at this point in time.
So we brought somebody
That's
here.
one.
He said Shagari did something like that, yes, when they were.
Yeah, we are talking about emergency.
Yes.
So for me, emergency import of food is an emergency.
Like wheat, rice.
Wheat, rice.
Oil.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Once you bring them in, of course, supply will increase, and you would also find that prices will. Even the announcement effect alone, that we are importing.
When you say you will import,
yes,
the ripple effect will be there.
It will be there. Prices will begin to come down. That's one in the area of food, agriculture. Then in the area of also, helping people to even survive, getting little money. I would also, as an emergency measure, I would recommend the government should embark on a massive public works program. Okay, that will engage the youth. This public works program, especially in the area of roads, road construction, road maintenance, whether it's rural communities.
Okay, and about the manpower now,
yes,
that will be required.
Yes,
so
those
paid
ones,
wages.
Yeah, paid something, to even survive. Some people don't have money to, remember when the Central Bank talks about money supply, this money supply is there, but it's in the hands of a few. There are a lot of people that can't see money to even eat or buy soap and the rest of them. So public works.
But are we not going to have a repeat of what Buhari did?
Yes.
The current Minister of Aviation,
yes,
I think he's still having some issues. There's a public works in each of the 774 local government areas.
Yes.
They will give them the public work. They will be paid 20,000 for 3 months. They will be sweeping the streets. Is that the kind of public work you're talking about?
No. As I said, road construction.
Okay. So to be
road
maintenance
contracts, road maintenance, even mass housing schemes. Things that will engage artisans, engage people to work. Okay, and of course they get paid for it. All right. Another thing I also think the government can do. I've talked about public works. I've talked about this issue of importing food. We are talking about an emergency. Now, is it possible for the government, the 3 tiers of government, to come and sit down and say, these days you can see how much they're sharing by way of
it's
over
about trillion.
yes, over 1 trillion every month, over 1 trillion, and some of it is also going to chase dollar and also helping to fuel inflation. Now, is it possible for the federal government and the governors to sit down and say, let's have an arrangement where we can give money directly to the local governments?
Okay.
Imagine giving 1 billion naira to 774 local governments, each one 1 billion. Direct
to them.
Yeah, direct, because
to the local
yes, because anything you pass through the governors don't get to them. Okay. So you give it direct to them, and then they are tied to one project or the other. If you use 1 billion naira in a local government to start a project, let the people there decide what they want to do with the kind of project. If it is
water project,
yes.
If it is building primary school,
yes.
If it is healthcare center, whatever.
Or skill acquisition center. If you put that 1 billion in that local government, okay, and through, not the governors,
yes,
maybe through community leaders, through religious people, whatever, yes, let them be the ones to control the funds and so on. You'll see a lot of activities in local government.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Prof. I wish we have more time, but you have solved their problem already.
Yes.
Honestly, these 3 points,
yes,
we hope they heard what you said and they will take note of it. We thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I wish we have more time to continue discussing the economy.
Especially this last point I made.
Exactly.
To give you more.
No problem. We'll bring you back.
Thank you, Hamza.
Thankfully, you are not far from here. We'll bring you to actually discuss more on these pertinent issues. We all have responsibility to salvage the economy. Professor of Finance and Capital Market, Uchenna Uwaleke, we thank you for coming to the program.
Thank you so much.
And viewers, this is a wrap of the program today. We thank you for being with us, and we hope you found the conversation engaging and informative. And be sure to join Daily Politics airing every weekday and our special package on Friday, during which we open our telephone line for you to comment on national issues. Tomorrow is Friday. We will open the line for you to discuss on a topic that we will select. Be with us and stay blessed. Bye-bye for now. I'm Hamza Idris.